Hey, Dave here, Fix and Fly RC. Hey, so on the next part of installing the STEMWings formation lights, or otherwise known as slime lights. As I mentioned in the last video, spent a lot of time trying to find the best locations. And at the end of the day, really kind of what you're going to do is you can get them close. Of course, somebody's going to know it's perfect, but like, unfortunately, I guess in this case, the graphics are already installed on the plane, so you kind of have to work around the graphics unless you want to pull the graphics off and put the lights on and then go buy new graphics. So I'm not going to try to remove the graphics from this plane. So I'm going to kind of work around the best I can where the light should be, but nobody's going to know really but me. So we're going to start with the front fuse first. I think it's going to be a little bit easier. Here I'll walk you through my game plan, what I plan to do, and then we'll actually start getting into cutting some foam and pull some wire. So let's get at it. Okay, so where did I decide to put the front fuselage? Well, as I mentioned, there is several locations. If you look across pictures, there's some that have been up here, some have been down here. So, it can kind of go all the way around. Problem is, because of the graphics are still on there, I would either have to take them off and buy new ones. So I'm not going to go that route. So what I decided here is the light's going to go right there. And you can see it's going to be right up under that rescue sticker. Now, maybe, on your plane, when they put it on, they may put it a little bit different. But what I decided to use is use this seam in this line right here to cut out. And you can see I've kind of just traced it out a little bit. I got to draw a straighter line. And just kind of as a reminder, you can see here I've painted the sides and stuff black. I ended up using my airbrush. Just took a few minutes. Put a piece of tape on the front. And that way, if there's any bleed through, it's just not going to come through the plane. And and if I end up having to buy some gray, I may put some gray paint on it too. So, but this is going to be the location. Now, what I'm going to end up doing, before I get too deep in here, just to make sure I understand where the wires go. And oh, by the way, I'll just go ahead and say this. The one thing I would recommend for stem lights is, you notice, sorry, that keeps getting out of focus. If you notice, the wires are straight out of the end. So when you put the light in, you're going to have to bend the wires. And these are pretty small gauge wires, and they can break pretty easy, and there's really no way to fix that. So you'd have to get them to give you a replacement if it broke. So anyway, if I had a recommendation for that, I would put the wire coming out the back side, so when you went into the it would do better. But I guess it also depends on where you place them, because on the tail it's going to want to be straight, and maybe even on the wingtip light. So I guess it just depends on how you run the wires. So it depends there. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get me a pen, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through my plan here, and then we'll do it. I'm going to take me a pen, and I'm going to stick it right through there, and I'm going to see where it comes out in the fuselage to make sure I'm in a good place where I come through, where I got to push the wire through. So I'm going to do that. Okay, then my plan is going to be is I'll take out the battery tray here. There's these 4 screws, and the wire should be coming up right up underneath there, and I'll tack it down to the bottom of the fuse. And then the plan will be to put all the electronics in somewhere in this general area. I still have to figure out where I'm going to put my gyro and other things like that. So anyway, that's going to be the kind of general plan of how I'm going to do the front one. And so the scary part now is going to be to start putting a hole in the plane. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and take this battery pack shelf out so I can get to the bottom of it. And I either have a cup or just a little magnet or something here, you know, to put the screws on. Now you probably could actually fish the wire, you know, come through here and fish it back up through there, more than likely. But what I want to do is I want to tie it down on the bottom of the fuselage, either through some hot glue or some tape or something, just to have a cleaner wire. Okay, got that out. And like I said, hopefully we're going to be able to come right through here. So I'm going to get a look here, come through here, and we'll just run the wire down through here and back up through here. So I've got a smaller, this is just a little T-pin for actually doing balsa and modeling. I use it for holding planes together when I'm putting back together. So I'm going to stick it through right where my wire's going to go through. Let's see if it's long enough to get through. Okay, I see it coming through, and it's going to actually, I'm going to turn the plane over. Hold on. Okay, so right here is actually the servo for the front wheel here. And it just so happens where that pin is coming out is just right on the back edge of there. Now I'm sure I could turn the wire and get it down here along, you know, down this side and back up through there. But because of where this at, I think I'm going to turn this over. So here's my pin right here. And I have the opportunity for this side, and I'll just kind of, because I'm going to cut this out anyway now, I'll put it right here. Let's just see where it comes through out. And it just happens to come through right around where the arm is. So I'm going to have to, either way, I'm going to have to kind of tuck the wire. So if I do it up on the front side, I'm going to have to take the wire, I'm going to go down up under the little piece up here, back up through here. So once I get it cut out, I'll make the decision which way I'm going to run it. This is a little bit more work, but I think I can keep it out of the way of moving parts a little easier. And just have to be able to get it tied down so it doesn't move. But I'm thinking here first, up on the front. Now, when I get to this side, I think I'm gonna have to, yeah, more likely I'll do the back side, because there's I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot of stuff up here. So what we know now is at least where the pins are going to be. I know I can feed the wire through. I got some place to get through. It's not gonna, you know, it's going to get through. It's not going to be in the way of something else that I can't get away from. And so we're going to be ready to actually start cutting our first bit of foam out, and we'll walk through the process of that now. I'm still thinking through this one a little bit. But this is not real big. So I probably can push that through okay. There's some thought that I'm thinking about maybe just going ahead and cutting those wires and just put a really small hole through, and then just recrimp some new connectors on another connector. But I'm thinking really at this point, and that's no bigger than that is. It's not really going to put that big of a hole through there. So I'll probably, at least on the fore fuselage, when I get to the wings, that may be a little bit different, because what I think I want to do on the wings is I want to be able to take the wings off, and if I put the lights on the wings, I won't be able to do that because it's going to hook up. So I'm going to have to, you know, put another connector on for the wing. So we'll kind of get that there is. But so I put a little hole in the plane. I ain't gone too far yet, but we're fixing to go. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to cut the foam. And so what you'll do is you don't want to cut it too deep. And what you can do, a couple different things is you can take your however angle you cut, and you'll mark you a spot on your blade, put you a piece of tape around it that marks your depth, and that'll let you know as you're going around, that'll let you know how far you need to go down. So I'm gonna get my tape depth here. I'll reset the camera and we'll get ready to cut. Okay, so I have got me a line here. I've measured it on both ends, drew me a straight line. I've got my seams here, so I've got my knife taped off. And so the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and we'll cut the first one here. Go back this way. See if it's a left-handed knife. Now, one thing I did is I went ahead and just a little bit deeper than the light itself, because when I set it in, you know, I don't want to have to be pushing on the foam and stuff. And so it's just a tiny bit more. Got off my line just a little bit there. Really didn't want to do that because I wanted a good fit. Okay, so you'll see this on the STEMWings site, and a couple other people have done this. And the question is, how do you get this out? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut a lot of slits this way. Then we're going to get a pair of needle nose pliers and start twisting out those pieces of foam. So I'll definitely speed this up a little bit, but okay. So now we have that. Got me a little pair of needle nose pliers there, and I don't know if I was in the way of the camera. I don't have a camera person like a lot of these people do, so I'll see, I'll find out. So you just grab you a little piece of foam and twist. A little bit down there. All right, we'll just kind of do a fit check there. A little bit wider gap than I wanted, a little bit more of a gap than I wanted to right there. So I probably think the next one I cut, I will cut just a slight, maybe slight bit small, you know, not as thick, but then you don't want to be pushing up and that be all wrinkly. But so that's what that's going to look like on that side. And next thing we'll do is we're going to go ahead and make us a punch us through a line there, and a hole to get our light through, and get it wired through. So up next is getting the wire run. Okay, so a couple different thoughts about getting the hole. I think I'm going to just use a drill that's about the same size as the connector. We're just going to kind of slowly push it through. I thought about heating it up and it would go through, you know, a lot smoother, but we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to push it through there. Whatever. All right, I'm going to finish pulling this through and we'll get back on it. Okay, so I just had to move the servo out of the way just a little bit. Let me see, let me get a better view here. Okay, so just had to move the servo a little bit right there, and I just got a pair needle nose and pulled it through. So here's my connector through, and like I said, I'm just gonna tie it down. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a nice little ridge right up under there. So I'm just gonna get me some tape or probably some hot glue or something and just permanently attach it down right through there. Probably use tape, maybe a little bit better, and then we'll run it back through up through the front. Okay, so here's that little ledge I was talking about right there. We'll just tack it down right there. We'll do that after we kind of get everything comfortable. And then, sorry, got the wire, and we'll just run it up here. This is where the battery tray was. And again, like I said, somewhere up in here we'll have the main hookup. So that will get us done for the main light, or the front fuse, and you can kind of see where it kind of looks like there. Now you can kind of see some of the dark, actually, the black on there, that paint around. So either may get some gray and put on the edges of the light, or he also gave us that tape that goes around the edge, and we'll put that on there. But that's what that's going to look like. Okay, so just want to see if the light's working and just have some fun here. And there we go. There's our first glow light, and I love the way that looks. Pretty cool. So got that one done, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more lights to go. But hey, this is what the hobby's all about. Loving it. So I'm going to finish cleaning up this side. I will repeat this on the other side, and then we'll move on. Next video we'll move on to the mids, which is going to be a little bit more of a challenge, I think. So the next video, like I said, will be the mids. That's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, I think, just because of the way I want to run the wires. And it's going to be a little bit interesting to figure out how to run those. We'll talk more about that later on. But for the meantime, I'm going to finish this other light on the front end and have the front done. So see you on the next video. Dave here, Fix and Fly RC, out.